Poke the Bear is brought to you by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 277, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back. That's $50 back when you play just $5 and are presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I am Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Connor, what's up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Weather's starting to get cold, very cold. Going from like 70 last week to 40 and 30 degrees, and we still have more to go, which is always great.
Again, what happened to the like good 50 degree, 60 degree, like sweatshirt, shorts, like a little chill?
Did we miss that? I don't think we did.
I think the climate's collapsing, Evan, unfortunately.
It's collapsing from the inside. It's either like negative 15 or 115. There's no in between. That's sort of like the Bruins this year. Either, well, I'm not gonna say great, but either winning or they're playing
hot or cold, right?
Hot or not. The OG. Bruins win on Tuesday. We're recording this Thursday afternoon, so obviously Bruins Stars is happening tonight.
So don't yell at us.
Or it already happened. Yes, it has already happened as you were listening to this. Bruins win on Tuesday against St. Louis, 3-2. Come back in the third. Andrew Raycroft sniped that. God, I don't know.
He's like Doctor Strange. He was just
very optimistic, very excited going on that third, which again, I think he might have been the only person watching that game excited. But it's funny. I tweeted out, this should be a season-changing win. You're really on the ropes. I think we were all thinking the same thing. Like, if they lose this game and then play bad in Dallas, Montgomery's probably toast. And you come off that Ottawa game on Saturday that was a mess. And I tweeted out, winning this game, this should be a season-changing win. This should, kind of reroute the season. And I saw some people being like, oh, the Blues aren't even good. And it's like, no, but I get that. But coming back in the third on the road up against the ropes, there's something to say for that. Now it's up to them to actually make this count and make this matter. How much stock are you putting into Tuesday's win?
I mean, listen, I think a win's a win, right? When you look at this team and just how much, how tough the sledding has been to start the year, you'll take it. That was, a team that showed resolve, that I think showed, especially when you look at all that's floating around with Jim Montgomery, it showed that this is a group that is playing hard for their coach, right? Again, as you said, going to that third period, I was like, do I have to write a potential Montgomery thing for Wednesday if that was happening,
that,
right?
For those who don't know, there's a lot of pre-writing here in journalism. It's, getting ahead of stuff.
Yes. But yeah, you look at the writing on the wall there of playing, again, a team that's not that great in the St. Louis Blues, but still the same mistakes, a lot of penalties. Power play was dreadful. Just feels like they had no energy at all for most of that game. So, I mean, yeah, good on them for stepping up and coming back for a win. Is it season saving? It's funny. You mentioned season saving because I wrote something similar on Tuesday night, and you had both people that are like, no, they still suck. You have that. You also have they're 4-1-1 in November.
I saw that.
They're in the playoffs. I'm like, then maybe watch the friggin' games. Tell me 4-1-1. Does it feel like 4-1-1?
No.
Give me a break.
I jokingly on Bruins Beat on Monday was like, yeah, they're in the playoffs. It doesn't feel that way. I know that they're 4-1-1, but it doesn't feel it.
But no, I mean, listen, it's a step in the right direction, right? Which I think you need at this point of the year in terms of guys, building their games. You had a lot of guys in the leadership group step up and really kind of tilted the ice in their favor throughout that third period. It's great. It's encouraging. You have other guys step up. You have more Geeky get back in the lineup. He scores a goal. It's all encouraging. Now it's how you build off of it, because what have we seen countless times this year, Evan, where the Bruins have had some of these games where you're like, all right, started off slow, getting back on track. You have that overtime win over Toronto. You have, the back-to-back wins against the Flyers and the Kraken, where you're like, all right, they're building something here. You're feeling good. And then what happens? You have the stretch where they get shut out by the Flyers, and then they get eviscerated by the Hurricanes. That was right after one of those sequences. And then you have, the Toronto series, and you follow that up with games like the game against Ottawa, right? Like there's way too much stop and start. There's way too much of this team really struggling to get into a rhythm here that, Tuesday's a great result. Like it reminds you of remember, I think early on in the season 2 years ago, and granted that team started off great, but they had that game in Pittsburgh, I think at the end of October, where they were short a few guys, came back in the third period and won. And at that point, right, again, that team was like 5-0-0 or something to start the year. But that kind of validated that, well, they've got something here. They can deal with that adversity. Didn't work out that way when we get to the playoffs, but that was a stepping stone, right?
It did not, but you're right. At the time,
but
it was
that was a validating kind of stepping stone of like, wow, this team really does feel like there's things working in their favor. They can bounce back from these kinds of setbacks with injuries and third period deficits. And it feels like you had something growing there. And then what do? They reeled off and went 14-1-0 or whatever it was. They were like the Winnipeg Jets to start that year. So I think for the Bruins, yes, it's a step in the right direction. You like to see the response. You like to see so many key guys step up in that game against St. Louis. But, when this episode drops, or is it going to be the Bruins going on the road against a Dallas team that many people expect to be making some noise in the spring? The Bruins going to, have a gutsy 3-2 win on the road? Then you feel like, all right, maybe there is something here. Or is it going to be you're losing 5-1? And it feels like we're right back where we started, right? So it needs to be, you'll take the win, obviously, considering all that's at stake and the response there. But all that matters is how they build off of this moving forward. And the jury's still out until we see what they do the next couple of games.
You hit it there with, if they go out and lose 5-1 to Dallas, or you just, have a really crappy game, it's sort of just a continuation. It's all right. Well, they're just going to take a step forward and 2 steps back consistently. And that's what's happened for up until this point. And it's made them so infuriating. I also found it interesting. Ty Anderson tweeted out at the end of the second in that game against the Blues on Tuesday, was they're unwatchable. And he's right. And that's what hurts, right? Like nothing's worse. And I think Boston sports fans can attest to this, because the Patriots have been unwatchable over the last couple of years. And it wasn't until recently with Drake May where it's like, oh, there's a reason to watch. This is fun. Even if we're losing by 20 points, at least like 42-22, and there's excitement. So far, this Bruins team has been unwatchable and really boring. I've mentioned that a couple times this year, just a boring product. And I think that's also why they just feel so bleh, because there's not a lot. There's no 5-on-5. For a long time, there's no 5-on-5 scoring. Power play has been dreadful. You're losing game. You're getting shut out. You're losing games 4-1, and it's just not entertaining in the slightest. But again, Tuesday's third period was entertaining. You had Geeky score. You had McAvoy on a bomb from the point score. You had Pasternak with a one-timer score. And so that was exciting for fans. Like that's a good product to watch. It just sucks when you have to watch those first 2 periods. Even though they did outshoot the Blues, it never felt like they had control. They were still committing too many offensive zone penalties, which continues to be an issue. So that's why I wonder if it's a season correcting win in that, obviously I don't think every problem is fixed starting Thursday night where, no more ozone penalties and this and that. Like we're, power plays humming. I don't think it's that, but I do wonder if they can sort of build off that and string some wins together and good wins together. I think that's the other thing where I think the reason that 4-1-1 doesn't feel that way is it's choppy. It's like you got a bad performance in there and then you have an okay one and a good one and a bad one. And that's sort of been the case this year. So again, encouraging stuff, but I'm not buying it. This is like this. I don't want to compare. I don't want to fully make this comparison because it's too harsh and the Bruins don't deserve this. But it's sort of like the Red Sox when they're in on these big name guys. Where it's like they're gonna be in on them. They're gonna be in on and then it's just they're many million short and they were never actually close. Sort of like the Juan Soto thing right now. Now the Bruins for years have been very consistent and good in the regular season. So I don't want they're not near that level. But so far this year, that's sort of what it's been like. It's like they had a good win. what do they do next game? What are they doing next game? And
Right.
I think is so big. And I think fans are just, that's why I think Thursday night's game, obviously you guys have already watched and heard the results, but that's why it's big. And then you have St. Louis again on Saturday. Worst thing to happen Tuesday night, a big injury happened. But first, quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks.
The leaves have fallen and the temperature is dropping, but you know what that means. Hockey season is finally here. And there's so many ways for you to get in on the action and win up to 100 times your cash with as little as 4 correct picks on PrizePicks. As you and the world's best players take the game to a new level on the ice, gridiron, court, and much more. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. There's really no shortage of ways to participate in PrizePicks, especially during hockey season. This week, I'm picking David Pastrnak for more than 0.5 goals and Nikita Kucherov for more than 1 assist. It's really that easy. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on the PrizePicks app to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
So ironically enough, on, I think it was Tuesday, maybe it was Monday, I don't remember what day it was, but Fluto Shinzawa from The Athletic wrote a story about how Hampus Lindholm has been their best defenseman by far, been one of their better players. You tweeted on Thursday because some goober said that Hampus Lindholm
I was fully expecting, also grammatically incorrect, but I was fully expecting, usually when I get those tweets, it's usually a guy who looks like Alex Jones in sunglasses in his beat up RAV4, or it's like a dog. Usually it's the worst takes or the meanest takes are usually it's a photo of like a lab, like a Labrador retriever staring at me on.
And labs
on Twitter.
are adorable too. That's what's so tough is like
apparently not
softening you guys. Come on,
not when they've not when you give a phone in their paws because they fire off some awful takes at people.
But yeah, that guy said to right. What do you say? Like Hampus Lindholm's been terrible, and it's like
yes,
no, he's actually been their best player through a month. But Lindholm went down with an injury against the Blues, went down the tunnel, and then announced that he's out for weeks. Not good. Usually you hear week to week. If it's only going to be a couple weeks, weeks is much longer. And it's lower body. I think Rich Keefe said that he was hearing that it was a broken kneecap, I think, or fractured kneecap. Again, that's not confirmed yet. But if that's the case, that sucks. Really tough. I mean, obviously for the Bruins because, he's been so good, but also for Hampus Lindholm, who, had kind of a tough year last year after a really strong regular season in that record-setting 22-23 season. And he was kind of getting back to that form this year. I think he had a goal called off at one point. Yeah. He's been really active. He's been legitimately good. And it just sucks for him, I think also, this sort of halts his momentum. And then obviously the Bruins could use Hampus Lindholm right now.
Yeah, no, it's a huge loss, both for the Bruins and for Lindholm. As you said, last year was a tough year for him. I think the Bruins were also giving him a whole lot of D-zone minutes, and I feel like he's better suited as being more of that two-way kind of defenseman as opposed to like a lockdown, shutdown player. Like I think he can do the job. I mean, he's a 6'4", steady defenseman, but you're not maximizing his value by not also giving him some time to get reps in the O-zone. I think you've seen it this year where I think he's been so shot ready, so assertive with the puck, so willing to jump up into the play. And I think that's where it kind of hurts you right now. I mean, just the fact that he eats up all these minutes is key and why he's such a valuable piece. But when you look at how tough the sledding has been for this team offensively, be it the power play, but even at 5-on-5, like Lindholm has been such a breath of fresh air in that regard in terms of being a guy that can jump into the play, can get shots through, integrate AIs, leads to rebounds or second chances or anything like that. He's been their most consistent player in doing that, and losing that extra layer of attack, it's a significant loss for however long it is, right? And as you said, if it's weeks, not great. It does feel weird every time where it feels like the Bruins are without McAvoy or Lindholm. It feels like the other player does step it up and then go sicko mode for a while. So maybe this means McAvoy goes off. It'd be ideal if both guys did it at the same time.
Would be nice.
But how many times have you seen it over the last couple of years where it has been a situation where you lose McAvoy for a while and Lindholm has a great game? Or we saw in 2022-23 a game where that Penguins game where Lindholm had that overtime goal. He was a monster to start the year. And so I think especially, and I think we'll talk about it a little later on, like his loss, even on the power play where he was viewed as this guy that finally they make a change. They can put Lindholm up there. Now you're kind of back of the drawing board with what to fix in terms of what has been one of your biggest flaws in terms of generating offense this year.
By the way, rip the Penguins. Oh my God. Like,
yes. Yeah, that team is bad.
Oh, and again, Kyle Dubas stepped into a rough situation anyways. And
yeah, Hextall
sort of
shredded that group too.
Oh, yeah. And I also think it's interesting with that team, not to turn into Penguins beat, but I think when Dubas took over, he sort of had one option, which was, hey, let's get younger, let's kind of rebuild. And then the other was, hey, let's just keep going in that direction of let's, just bolster this roster as much as we can. And they tried the second option and it just ain't working. I mean, that roster is not good and it's not performing.
Just like, like the 2013, to 16 Red Wings. And they haven't, they're definitely not paying the price for that, right? Like, exactly. You just know when the gig is up. Like,
yeah.
You have to figure out a time when to cut bait. And the Bruins are, I think, probably I know people are, you look at the way they've been playing this year, people are like, I'll just blow it up. It's tougher when you've got like a Red Wings team where like your younger players are like Fipula or like a middle six player, right? Like, and you've got
I forgot that's a blast from the past.
Yeah. But like you had
like Fipula.
But like you had Zetterberg and Datsuk and all these guys that are like such a key piece of your group that are all around that same age bracket. It's tougher if you're the Bruins where it's like, all right, or looking at the Penguins, right, with Letang and Crosby and Malkin and all those players, Carlson. The Bruins have like, Marchand and a few of these players, but then it's all guys that are like 27, 28. Like Bruins are, I think, in a little bit of a different spot in terms of where they are, as opposed to some of those teams that, are so ingrained or established because of all their core being that same age. But like, look at the Capitals, which I have no idea what the hell to make of that Capitals team. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I thought they would suck.
But good on them for like 2 years ago when they had guys like Orlov selling them for returns and kind of reshuffling things. Like, if you start that process and do a little bit of that, like, it generally leads to better returns, at least on a quicker timeline. Again, I don't know how sustainable this Capitals team is, but you kind of sell out pieces when the opportunity is there, things aren't working, and they seem to be in a better spot for it. So,
and they got Leonard coming. I mean, I also think I
forgot about that too. Yeah,
I think it kind of hits back at I do see a lot of Bruins fans be like, blow it up. This core isn't good enough. And Jay Fresh had an interesting tweet over the weekend about the Ducks, about how they're one of these rebuilding teams that bottomed the hell out and they have nothing to show for it. And they're regressing because it's just, their roster's all just young prospects and no one's taking steps. And I think the key is what the Bruins did from that 2014 through 2017, where it was just kind of a retool. And it's sort of what you mentioned about the Caps, where it's like, okay, your team's kind of hovering around 500, your core is getting older. Let's not just go one and done in the playoffs this year. We'll just punt. And I think that's sort of one of the things that teams are so hesitant to do is we got to be in the mix. We have a chance every year, and that's great. But I also think there's a case there that retooling and sort of, doing, as you said, a reshuffling of the deck is so much better than just bottoming the hell out. And again, if the Bruins continue on this pace where they're 500, or around that for the next 2 months, you're going to have some hard questions with guys on this roster who are on expiring deals. But we will save those for another day. I don't want to get too into that now. On the topic of Lindholm being out, I think two people really need to step up as well. Obviously, McAvoy, number 1D. But I also look at like a guy like Lowry, who we'll get to in a bit on the power play, and Nikita Zadorov. Zadorov has had a rough start to his time here. Again, Montgomery's kind of mentioned, coachability at times has been difficult with him.
Not good. Like, you don't want to hear that. That he can't grasp systems. Not what you really want to hear, but
no, it isn't. And penalty wise, he has been bad. A lot of missed coverages, which, like, again, you're a moose back there. That is your job. You need to be doing that. Yeah, occasionally a guy's going to blow by you and you got to hook him. Like, I get that. But it's been disappointing so far. And I think that contract does not look very good at the moment. Now, again, we're a month in. We are a month in. So, like, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but he's a guy that in these weeks that Lindholm is out, you're going to need him. I mean, he's not going to be on the power play, but you're going to need him killing more, being out there for more PKs, being out there for more D zone draws, potentially chipping in on the offense as well. Like, this is sort of his time to take that. And I just, again, like, it's his time because he just hasn't shown anything through a month so far.
Yeah, and I think for him, it all just comes down to simplifying his game, right? And not trying to, do too much. Like, I don't know if, like, listen, the system issues and, like, the lapses in the coverage are very concerning, at least to start the year. But you also wonder, like, how much of this is him trying to figure out what exactly his role is. Because I remember, like, there was, like, 3 or 4 times during camp where people would ask him, like, and I talked about this with Ty Anderson, of people have been like, you like hitting guys, huh? You like being a big tough guy? He's like, I guess, like, I'm 6'6", so I hit guys. They tend to go flying, but, like, I'm just trying to, like, stick to my game, keep it simple. And they're like, but you like hitting guys, right? Like, the Bruins fans will really like it if you hit guys. And it's like, I wonder if he's
listening to reporters over Montgomery. He's like, no, but Monty, Steve Conroy really wants me to just lay guys out. I'm doing that.
Right. So I do wonder if, like, it's him trying to figure out his role and find his footing. I do know that I think when he was first with Calgary, and I think even with Vancouver for a little bit, it took him some time to, like, settle into a groove. So maybe that is also the case. Not saying that it's going to be like you get to the playoffs and he's going to be what he was in Vancouver. He's going end to end scoring goals or anything like that. The Bruins would take that. But I think for him, it's all about just simplifying, like not taking the bad penalties, making simple, smart plays with the puck. He's shown a willingness to, like, I don't think you want him to be carrying the puck through the neutral zone or anything like that, but he has shown a willingness early on to get pucks on net. So I think just simplifying and keeping things like that is what he's going to need to do just to find his footing and just get some more traction into his game. I think not going to the penalty box every single game is also pretty important. I'd recommend that. But I think when you look at this team, like the margin for error for this team is already super slim in terms of, like, their struggles with scoring, the penalty differential, the power play not being able to bail them out. So I think it's all about, especially at 5-on-5, just being risk averse. That might mean a little bit more boring hockey for right now as you wait for things to sort themselves out. But I think if you're the Bruins and you're looking at Zadorov and what he's provided so far, you'll take the boring low event hockey as opposed to high sticks and interference calls and stuff like that are going to put you behind the 8 ball, especially when you look at where the PK is right now.
100%. Yeah, I think that's completely the move. Things that are also the move. Going to our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like watching an NBA or NHL game live. The energy in the building, the sounds on the ice or the court, the memories you make with family, friends, and other fans. It's unmatched. And the coolest part is when strangers sitting around you become your best friends. You can make these memories with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. When I use Game Time, I also love the flash deals, which help me get discounted prices on really good seats. Plus, who doesn't love seat views, which give a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy? So, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Now, back to the show. So the power play, Connor, not great so far. Not great. They did make a change prior to Tuesday, putting Lindholm instead of McAvoy on that top unit. They moved McAvoy with Lowry on the second unit. Didn't last very long because Lindholm obviously now is out for quite a bit of time. So, what would you do with this power play?
I mean, I feel like at this point, I would rather just be more, opt for a little bit more risk with a guy like Lowry up there. I understand that he's not had the strongest year, and I'm sure the Bruins probably aren't, or Montgomery isn't receptive of putting a young player like that sometimes has issues with passing and, holding on to the puck, at least for right now. Like this year's been a little bit more of a struggle for him as opposed to maybe where they were last year in the playoffs. But I think you look at just how dynamic he is with the puck as a left shot, his ability to find lanes to move the puck down to the half wall, add a little bit more, I think, unpredictability to that unit. I'd go for it right now. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I imagine they're going to go back to McAvoy, but I just think you look at what Lindholm provided up there, and it's not just like you're hoping things play out that way in terms of Lindholm's shot first mentality, being a left shot, being able to get the puck over to Pastrnak, a half second quicker, and limiting kind of that hesitancy that you see at times with McAvoy. I think you've just really missed all that. And so I would go with Lowry for right now, but I have to imagine things have to probably continue to bottom out more of not getting results with McAvoy up there before they turn to that. Again, it feels like it's already bottomed out, but I imagine they go back to McAvoy at least to start Thursday's game.
Yeah, I think they take a conservative approach and go with McAvoy at the point just to kind of, it's stability. I think that's sort of what it's going to be, but where it's sort of not a negative, I want Lowry. Give me that. Give me that. This is the time. I mean, I know that they are on thin ice. I know Montgomery is sort of on thin ice. Give him the shot. Like I think this is, maybe it's not exactly when you do it, but I want to see it. And I think he provides you more mobility at the point too. Like, I think that also helps. I think he's a little more active, more willing to shoot at times. I know McAvoy struggled with that in his career a little bit. And I also think with Lindholm gone, McAvoy is going to have a lot more responsibility. Do I want to also add PP1 to that? Even though he was the power play one quarterback, to start the year, I'd rather give that to Lowry for right now. And again, if it stinks and it's awful and Lowry's making turnovers and they're, unable to break out their own zone or get to the neutral zone or whatever, then that's a different case. But give it a shot. Give it a shot. I want to, again, I've liked Lowry in small samples. Now, to start this year, you're right. He started out producing in his first couple of games. I remember first couple episodes of the year, we're like, wow, the defense, you're getting offense from the defense. And I don't think he's put up really anything since then. But the potential's there and his mobility and all that stuff. So I say, why not? I mean, again, give it a shot for a little bit, but I think it goes back to they're going to put McAvoy back up there. I think they're going to end up doing, given where they are.
And I think for Lowry, again, I can't see them where he's been. So I think up and down, at least to start the year, and he's been scratched a couple of times, that I can't see them being like, all right, it's been, we need to get back to, being more consistent. Here's power play one. I can't see that being, I just can't see it from.
That's why they won't do it. They won't.
Which, you could also spin it in terms of, well, if you're looking for him to playing to his strengths and maybe get more confidence, maybe that's a way to do it, is giving him the power play. And all of a sudden feeds Pastrnak for a one-timer. Yeah, he's feeling good about his game and confident. I think that's a big part for these younger players, is feeling good about their games, getting rewarded with production. And that could be a strategy. And I could see that working out when you just see his skill on the power play and kind of his profile as a defenseman. I just can't see it being the case right now. If the Bruins go 0-4 through the first, 40 plus minutes of Thursday's game, maybe then they give him a look. But And also, again, if the power play is not producing, then he's going to be out there for the second power play unit. Maybe they get better looks. So it could be pretty fluid how they approach things. But I still think to start it off, it's going to be McAvoy back in that spot.
Yeah, and again, like that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I'd be curious to see Mason Lohrei back there. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, we have you covered every step of the way over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe throughout this Bruins season with recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. So you can read all of it over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.